Travis Hunter is one of the biggest preseason winners from week one. We'll tell you why next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Michael Fabiano. You can follow him on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. On today's show, we're going to be discussing the biggest winners from week one of the preseason. Yes, it's the preseason. Don't overreact to what you see. But there were some things that were notable coming from these games. And Fabs, we have to start with Travis Hunter.
Yeah, because the big question mark is how much of each position will he play? What's the game plan? And maybe we saw the curtain pulled back on that a little bit against Pittsburgh, which, by the way, saw a 70-yard field goal. Are you moving Cam Little up on your rankings, by the way?
I might have to. My gosh, that was fun.
I know, right? So Hunter played every snap with the Jaguars' first-team offense when they were in 3 receiver sets. And he is listed as a starting wide receiver on the depth chart, which is, I guess, the first official, unofficial, whatever the case may be. And he's listed as a backup cornerback.
Yes.
So that's good from a fantasy standpoint. He played 11 to 12 snaps with the offensive starters. So from a fantasy standpoint, good start from Travis Hunter. And in terms of his usage, we're pretty happy about that. And if he's going to play more wide receiver, that's obviously a good thing for us.
So, yeah, he didn't play with the first-team defense that was out there for Jacksonville on Saturday night, which is great. But one of the things I actually thought that was the most interesting here, Fabs, is that he did not play in the 1-12 personnel set, which is 2 receivers on the field. That was the only snap that he missed. But when Jacksonville was in their 3 receiver set, which was 11 of the 12 plays, he played in the slot on half of those snaps.
Yeah.
And that's good.
Yeah, I mean, he was a perimeter receiver for the majority of 2024 at Colorado. So they're going to obviously want to move him around.
And that's a big deal in Liam Cohen's offense because, like, historically, that slot receiver gets the most volume. And I don't know if that's going to be the case in Jacksonville because you still have Brian Thomas Jr., who got plenty of targets. But if you're going to be the slot receiver in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, like, I'm getting even more excited about the possibility of what Travis Hunter could be this year.
I actually drafted him. We were in Canton, Marcus and I, over the weekend for the Fantasy Football Expo, and those are clearly seasonal drafts, but I wanted me a little Travis Hunter, a lot of wide receivers in the starting lineups there, so I grabbed him. So this was good. And Marcus said it, don't overreact, like don't get nuts, but just get that info in the back of your head and see if it trickles into the next preseason game and the next preseason game. And then if you got a trend that starts up, well, you could feel a little bit better. But right now, I think you're feeling pretty good about Travis Hunter.
Yeah, it's one of the drumbeat guys of the offseason. We continue to hear, from James Gladstone, from Liam Cohen, from Trevor Lawrence, like, hey, he's going to play a lot on offense. He's going to play on both sides of the ball. So we're really excited about what he can potentially do on offense. But Fabs, let's talk about another rookie that stood out to us over the preseason. That's Tyler Warren, who got a significant amount of burn with the first-team offense. Why are you excited about the Penn State tight end?
Well, I have been. I mean, when he got drafted by the Colts, I was like, good fit. I mean, I've said it a million times. Like, I just see him as maybe like a Dallas Clark. And look at number 44. What number did Dallas Clark wear? That's right. I know he's wearing a different number with the Colts. That's neither here nor there.
He needs to change it. 84 just looks weird on him. He needs to go back to the 44.
I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. So he played all 20 snaps on the Colts' first 3 offensive drives in the game. He had 3 catches for 40 yards. He would have had a 4th catch, but it got called back due to a penalty. Now, like, the Colts didn't play any of their starting wide receivers. So this is not unexpected, but I said this, and I've said this a lot. When we did our mock draft, the rookie only last week, I said, Tyler Warren's skill set keeps him on the field. He can block. He can catch. I mean, hell, he had what, 200 or 300 rushing yards last year for the Nittany Lions. Like, he can kind of do a little bit of everything. And so that's why I'm excited about him. Again, I don't think he's going to be Sam Laporta or Brock Bowers, but how many people are? That doesn't mean that he still can't be a top 10, top 12 tight end at a really thin position as a rookie. So a very good start. And hopefully this is a sign of things to come in terms of his usage and playing time.
So you mentioned the rushing stats. I did this big deep dive over the offseason. I went and looked at all of the tight ends in college football history that had at least 100 career rushing yards. Okay, which it's a pretty small list. The list that I could find was Brock Bowers had like 193, Tyler Warren, who had over 200 last year. And do you remember a guy named James Casey that played at Rice, who played with the Texans for a little bit?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Yeah. He
Vaguely,
was like
yes.
he was like a wildcat quarterback. But that's it. Like, that's the entire list of tight ends that have 200 rush or 100 rushing yards. Because why would you ever give your tight end the ball on a carry,
right,
unless you are a special athlete? And Tyler Warren is. We already saw that Brock Bowers is, right?
Yep.
I think one of my big takeaways watching that Colts game was, if Daniel Jones is going to be the quarterback, I want Tyler Warren in every single league, right? Because Daniel Jones is not going to take off and run. Or, I mean, he can. I don't think he will. Not as much as Anthony Richardson. And he likes to get the ball out of his hands quickly. And what better way to do that than just throw the ball to your tight end 5-6 yards down the field? I think this Colts offense is just going to pepper Tyler Warren with targets. And that, honestly, is probably a good idea.
It absolutely is. And the quarterback situation didn't get any clearer for the Colts. Anthony Richardson got popped bad on a blown blocking assignment. You don't want to see that. And injured his finger. So Daniel Jones got more of the burn, obviously, with the first team offense. That's still a situation that we have to watch. But I think regardless, Tyler Warren is going to be a very highly targeted player in the Colts offense. I'm not saying he's going to have more targets than Michael Pittman or maybe a healthy Josh Downs if he can stay healthy, but he will be up there, and he's going to see enough targets and play enough snaps and run enough routes to be a fantasy starter at some point during his rookie year, if not right out of the gate.
I will say, I thought Anthony Richardson looked really not great in this game. I know a lot of offensive line experts that I follow on Twitter were saying that he was responsible for the sack that happened. He needs to get the ball out quickly. He needs to recognize where that blitz is coming from, and he gets hurt. He's inaccurate again. And I feel like this is going to be Daniel Jones's job. He's going to start week 2 of the preseason. And again, it's not exciting. I don't really want to watch a full season of Daniel Jones again, but if he's going to be the quarterback, I absolutely want Tyler Warren in my dynasty leagues. And the other thing I wanted to mention, Fabs, is I think this Colts offensive line is going to be really bad. We saw that play out in the preseason again. And if you have a bad offensive line, maybe you're not able to target A.D. Mitchell down the field as much. Maybe Michael Pittman's not getting as many downfield targets.
Yep.
And what that results in is more targets for Tyler Warren.
Short yardage. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, so we'll see. All right, let's talk about some rookie quarterbacks, because there were quite a few that actually played well over the weekend. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, Fabs and I are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. And to kick it off, they've just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a new killer way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's only one team left standing. And with the new season right around the corner, now is the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. And if you're more into the classics, you can still play in a head-to-head private league or join a public league. So stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Let's start with Shedeur Sanders, because you and I were at the Expo watching Shedeur light up the Panthers defense. Not really, but kind of. Does this performance playing with the starters change anything for you regarding Shedeur Sanders?
No, not really. I still have Dylan Gabriel ahead of him. When we're talking about the dynasty ranks of the rookie quarterbacks or the dynasty ranks overall, because of just where the Browns took him 2 rounds before. So they could have taken Shedeur Sanders in the 3rd round, and they did not. He fell to the 5th round, and they decided at that point they'll take a chance on him. So good performance. Certainly opened a few eyes, but it's preseason. And so I'm not going to get nuts just yet. And I mean, let's remember, like, Joe Flacco is probably going to be the starter. Kenny Pickett's still on the team. And obviously the Browns thought more of another rookie because they drafted Dylan Gabriel first. So was it a positive for Shedeur? Absolutely. Am I rooting for the young man? Of course. Am I moving him up my rankings after this? No.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I had a lot of fun sitting at one of the bars and at the Expo having some nachos, watching Shedeur, and I really liked it. It was fun watching him play, and I thought he really settled in as the game went on. But it's week 1 of the preseason. He's been running with the 4th team offense, well, the 3rd team offense, but he's been the 4th quarterback on the depth chart. Do I think this performance maybe will give him more opportunities in training camp? I hope so. Like, I hope that's what happens over the next couple of weeks. But I don't think that one performance is going to make him suddenly the starter in Cleveland or anything like that. So in your dynasty leagues, I think you're fine letting him sit on the waiver wires. Or if you've already, if you haven't done your rookie drafts yet, I think you're fine not drafting him. It was fun. I'm not overreacting. I said that on Twitter, and a bunch of fantasy people got very, very upset, but it's okay. I don't want to overreact to anything we see in week 1 of the preseason.
I wish there was a world where the Browns would trade him to New Orleans. I mean,
well, we'll talk about the Saints quarterback situation tomorrow.
I would love to see that. Like, I would love it. But I don't know that there is that world that's out there. But he's got a pretty big hill to climb to have any sort of impact or any kind of value in year 1.
All right, let's talk about another rookie quarterback, Jackson Dart, who did not start for the Giants. That was Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, by the way, stats: 6 of 7, great. 28 yards, not so great. A lot of dump offs, a lot of underneath stuff. Jackson Dart, 12 and 19, 154 yards and a touchdown. Also had 24 rushing yards.
Yep.
Again, this is against Buffalo's backups, but I thought he looked pretty good.
And he led the Giants in passing yards and rushing yards in the game.
Yeah.
I have come out and said that I like Dart. In fact, I have a rookie-only Superflex draft coming up, and I have the 6th overall pick, and I have Russell Wilson. And so I may end up taking Jackson Dart there, not only as insurance for just having the Giants starting quarterback, but I like guys who can run with the ball. And again, like, we're not going to confuse Jackson Dart for Jaden Daniels. No. The same thing goes for Cam Ward, who we're going to talk about. But if a quarterback can go out there and run a little bit and give you 200-300 yards on the ground, maybe 2-3 touchdowns, at all points, man, it all adds up. And 3 of Dart's 4 drives resulted in points for the G-men. Most of you saw the highlight with that 29-yard pass to little Jordan Humphrey, which basically, listen, guys, it's the first week of the preseason, but it's nice to watch. It's good, right? It's good. So, it was a positive. Let's just put it that way. It didn't excite me to the point where, we got to move Jackson Dart up. Who are you moving him up ahead, especially in rookie only? But it was good. It was good to see him go out there and perform well.
I think if you like Jackson Dart before the preseason, you're obviously still going to like him now. Someone like me who has not been drafting Jackson Dart at all, I'm not moving up my rankings, but I thought he looked good. And I think if he's available at the right spot, I would be intrigued. I do think this Giants offense has a chance to be better than what most people anticipate, because they do have weapons, and it's not just Malik Neighbors. Like, I like Darius Slayton. I think Wan'Dale Robinson can be a pretty decent slot receiver. We'll see what Theo Johnson can do. We both like Tyrone Tracy. So I think in time, this offense could be good, but it might be a couple of years down the road. But again, everything we saw from Jackson Dart in week 1 was encouraging.
Yep.
Let's talk about Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick, who honestly we probably haven't talked about enough. He played with the starters, not surprising. 5 of 8, 67 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, didn't run the ball at all. I don't think he looked bad, but I don't think he looked amazing either.
Yeah, the Titans went 3 and out in his first drive, but then the second drive was a 65-yard touchdown drive, which is good. Here's what I took away from it more than anything else. He looks like he's going to throw the ball to Calvin Ridley a bunch.
Yes.
On that second drive, they connected for 3 completions, 27, 10, and 13 yards. And the Titans have nobody else. I mean, Tyler Lockett, okay, come on. They've got a lot of young wide receivers. Chigakonko is, an average tight end. So if anything else, and I know Ridley's 30, and so from a dynasty perspective, how many more good years are you going to get from him? But also, maybe you get, a better year or 2 from him now, because obviously Will Levis is not a thing that the Titans are kind of hoping for. And Cam Ward's a guy who warranted the number 1 overall pick. I would assume the Titans are probably going to have to throw the ball to play from. They're going to be playing from behind more often than not this upcoming season. So I saw this as, okay, it was, Cam Ward, it's preseason 1, but I did like that Calvin Ridley was targeted a bunch in that drive. And I think that's one of those scenarios where Calvin Ridley, again, maybe not like the most long-term value, but could end up being a bargain, at least for this season.
Wide receiver 48 right now on Dynasty League football. And if you need like a low-end wide receiver 2 and you don't really want to pay wide receiver 2 prices, I agree. Ridley could do that. I want to do one more non-quarterback before we get to Carolina. Travyon Henderson had a 100-yard kick return touchdown on his very first touch for New England. He played a lot of snaps with the starters. And while, you don't get points for a 100-yard touchdown in most dynasty leagues, mine do. Mine do. This is why I play in the right kind of dynasty leagues, Fabs. You can already see the hype and excitement building for Travyon Henderson. Again, we were in the expo. I was in a snake draft. And again, this is redraft, but Travyon Henderson went the 3rd round of a snake draft. Yeah. I can't imagine what this is going to do to his dynasty value over the next month.
I don't know, brother. I mean, sometimes the hype is bigger than what actually ends up on the field. Yep. And keep in mind that these are 14-team drafts that Marcus and I are talking about. So, guys are going to go higher.
A little later.
Right. But the fact that he went a 3rd round, listen, Ramondre Stevenson is still there. He's still there.
Yeah.
He's not crap. Okay. And I love what I've seen from Henderson. And if you're scoring your league correctly, Henderson should be getting those points for return yards and touchdowns. I've been running those points for my leagues forever. He absolutely should. But at some point, like long term, I get the love, man, definitely. But this was a redraft, and that was a little too rich for my blood. But long term, I think the hype machine has already begun with Henderson, and that sucker, much like the DeLorean in Back to the Future, is going to hit 88 miles per hour pretty quick if it hasn't already.
Yeah, I like that we saw him working with the first team offense. I think one of the things that was very evident is his speed is going to translate to the NFL. Obviously, no concerns about that. We still have to see what the role is going to be like, but you can bet that in your dynasty leagues, Henderson is going to be way more expensive today than he was just a couple days ago. So keep that in mind. All right, let's talk about another quarterback wide receiver tandem that looked really good over the weekend. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. We've all been there logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show that you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping, but that's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever before, and prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. One of my favorite things about the Gametime app is you can get a panoramic view in the app of your seats before you buy. It's so convenient. It's so nice to have. So download the Gametime app today, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Bets. Betting experts Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers have daily MLB locks and can't miss football futures. Find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, Fabs, I want to go back to that Browns-Panthers game because there was something really fascinating that happened in that game. Everybody's attention was on Shedeur Sanders and the Browns. But I don't think people watched this Carolina team closely enough because I thought Bryce Young looked absolutely fantastic. The first team offense played 2 drives. On the second drive, Bryce Young took them right down the field. He connected with Tetairoa McMillan on a beautiful pass down the sideline. In the red zone, he threw his timing pass to Tet where the anticipation was unbelievable. Tet just missed it. And then on the next play, Bryce Young scrambles outside the pocket, makes a ridiculous throw in the back of the end zone. My biggest takeaway from this game wasn't Shedeur Sanders and the Browns. It's that I kind of like Bryce Young and Tetairoa McMillan. I wanted to be aggressive in getting them in my dynasty leagues.
And Bryce looked good towards the end of last season. And we started to think, well, maybe the light came on, under Dave Canales, finally. And he did look good. 4 or 6 passes, 58 yards, had that touchdown pass to Coker. And I've got him listed as a sleeper type of quarterback because he's very inexpensive right now because we just haven't seen what we thought we would from the first overall pick from a couple of years ago. But they've got some weapons now. Some of them have to develop, but they do have some weapons. And Ted obviously is the alpha. And I've talked about this ad nauseum, that he was that one wide receiver that I thought coming out of the draft that had the best chance at being that alpha wide receiver in the National Football League. He caught 2 passes for 43 yards. Obviously, his time was limited playing with the starters, but also notable that he played every snap on the first 2 drives as their X receiver. And my guess is that's going to be what we see him play all year long. Now, listen, he's not going to be Brian Thomas Jr., okay? He's just not in year one. But is there a world where Tetairoa McMillan is a wide receiver 2 flex type of player for you in more weeks than not? Yeah, absolutely.
I also look at this division and you play the Saints twice,
Yeah.
the Falcons twice, and Tampa Bay twice. I mean, what defense are you afraid of if you're Bryce Young and the Panthers? I mean, none of these. And we saw it at the end of the year. Like, these teams were getting in shootouts every single week. I don't think Carolina's defense is going to be great either. So this could just be the division to target in your dynasty leagues where you're going to get these guys that, maybe Bryce Young's not a real life top 15 quarterback, but when you play in games where you have to score 30 points to win, maybe the volume is going to be so great. But I actually, beyond all that, I just thought Bryce looked so comfortable. He looked confident, and that was just something we didn't see during his rookie year and during the first half of last year. He seems like a much better quarterback. I wish I had better analysis than that, but he just looks better, Fabs.
Maybe he's a slow learner. I don't know. You remember The Running Man? You remember that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger at the end with Richard Dawson, where he's like, I'm not an expert at television. I'm a slow learner, whatever it was. I love Arnold. 80s movies are the best, aren't they?
They are.
They are the best. But I like what I've seen, and he's cheap. Like, it's not like you have to go out and spend a high draft pick or use valuable draft capital on Bryce Young. You just don't. And so, regardless of the sort of league you're playing in, I mean, even if he falters and he doesn't meet expectations, it didn't cost you a lot. And at this point, I think it's well worth that reasonable price.
Speaking of 80s movies, I made my wife watch Weekend at Bernie's last night.
Oh my God.
She was not a fan. Just
really? I thought the first one was good. And then after that, it went.
Yeah, Weekend at Bernie's too. I wanted to ask you about Tetairoa McMillan because right now in Dynasty Leagues, he's being drafted as wide receiver 18, Travis Hunter, wide receiver 17. again, you're not changing anything based on what we saw in the preseason, but right now, just your gut instinct, who you taking?
No, I have Tetairoa.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't see Hunter as an alpha because they already have one in Jacksonville. And McMillan's not, he's never not been my number one rookie wide receiver in this class.
Okay. Real quick before we go, is there anybody else that stood out to you in week 1 of the preseason that you thought was worth mentioning? Again, just to be clear, we're not overreacting, but sometimes based on usage or guys standing out or flashing one play, it can change our opinions. Did that happen to you at all?
RJ Harvey a little bit because he started and he was the first and second down back for Sean Payton. Dobbins was more of like a third down type of dude, but I got to see that more. You know what I mean? Over the next couple of preseason games before I really super jump in the bandwagon. But that knowing what Sean Payton's offenses can do for a running back certainly opened my eyes a little bit. But again, it's the first game of the preseason.
Yeah, I wouldn't overreact too much based on how guys are getting used. Denver's going to use a lot of running backs. Like we've known that from Sean Payton's history. Like he, in an ideal world, he wants to use 2, 3, 4 running backs. So just play it safe here. All right, that is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty Football your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about the biggest losers, and I'm using air quotes very, very strongly here. Talking about the biggest losers from week 1 of the preseason, some guys that maybe we're a little bit concerned about. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Make sure you're following Fabs on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. We'll see you right back here on Tuesday.